everybody, and welcome to SimShed Broadcasting for the ANZCAR Cup Series. And we're here at Daytona for the Duel to set the grid for the Daytona 500, which will be on Saturday, the 15th at 6:45 Adelaide time. We're here for a new season. So commentating Adelaide is myself, Carl Woodley, and with a new broadcaster brings us some new faces and some new voices to the actual broadcast booth. So with me tonight is Rob Cameron.
Yeah, good, thanks, Carl. Good to be here, mate. First time commentating over, so it'll be quite interesting. We're at the World Centre of Racing.
This time of year anyway, because you have the 500, you have the 24, and then you have the 500, of course. So there is always much going on here at Daytona, which is always fun. And of course, this being a new season, with SimShed Broadcasting, so it's something a little bit different, something a little bit new. We've got some lovely new graphics on the screen, and we have to first do a big thank you to Matt Hunter for helping out with that, with the AVTO system, to get the beautiful graphics you're seeing on the screen now working for us. So a big thank you to him, and he's actually been released from the broadcast booth into the actual race, so he's going to be racing now in the Cup Series. So there's going to be some changes here, and it's going to be a bit of an interesting season for sure.
Absolutely, mate. I'm really looking forward to the season. As you said, new season, different drivers this year, and I'm sure the new drivers will definitely try and take it up to the more experienced drivers.
Yes, we have got a few rookies this year. We've got a few new teams. We've got a lot of new stuff basically. There's a lot of team changes as well, which is always nice to see through the season. We've also got some actual nice things as well for those new drivers and teams, because we are sponsored, as I say, by Abruzzi for this season. So there are some actual prizes for the championship this season. So with the prizes, with the championship, you'll actually get a pair of stitched sim racing gloves and pro karting boots, so the actual boots to wear in the sort of sim racing area. There's also going to be a rookie sort of aspect to it. It's the Rookie of the Year prize, which will actually be virtual motorsport mentoring, who's going to be giving them some help for getting the Rookie of the Year prize this year. Of course, virtual motorsport mentor run out of the Illusion camp. Fantastic thing to help you with your sim racing starting, well, to help you out when you actually start your sim racing.
Absolutely, mate. Virtual Motorsport Mentor, they're a new brand, and Chris Purnell and his guys at Illusion Motorsport are doing a fantastic job. As you said, there's new prizes up this year, and one of them are the Best and Fairest 2020 prize. And with that is the Abruzzi long or short sim gloves and sim or karting boots, which is going to go to the Best and Fairest for this year, and I'm sure they'll be very happy when they receive their prize.
Yes, I can imagine. So it's nice to actually have some sponsorship this season, something a bit different, and something to actually add a little bit of flavour to the championship, to give people something to race for as well, which is always a welcome thing. We do like to have that, and well, we've grown as we go on as well. We're now on a few different platforms, so you can actually watch us not only on YouTube now, but there's Twitch as well with SimShed Broadcasting, and also the Facebook accounts as well. So lots of options for new viewers this year as well.
Yeah, for sure, mates. And as we said earlier, we're at Daytona International Speedway. What do you think tonight will bring? It's a very fast track, played out for most of the oval layout. Who do you think's in it for the win here tonight, mate?
Well, it's always a tricky thing at Daytona. It can always be a bit of a lottery. Like Talladega, it's another super speedway, of course. It's all about the draft, all about getting close to the guy in front, keeping there, and not spinning out and crashing or getting involved in the big one as well. And that's usually the hardest thing to do. Um, Honestly, I think we're going to see a strong showing from Mitch Motorsport um, with with Mitch Motorsport. I think we're going to see them racing very, very well. Josh Micklemore is up there in the grid areas. He's sitting quite high. Danny G's with him as well. Jason Martin, of course, they're all in good positions for this race. It's going to be hard to discount them. But we've also got, of course, JP Simshed out there now, one of the new teams, who've got some very experienced drivers with them. And they've got a strong showing as well as Illusion, with a lot of cars out there tonight. Having a few more cars on the circuit's always going to help you, because it means you can get that pack running and usually get some good positions.
Absolutely, mate. And like you said, there's a few drivers in multiple teams, and I'm sure we'll see those teams work together if they come together on the racetrack and try and build a bit of a margin to the other teams. Sure, they'll definitely work together. I'm sure they're all talking to each other, and yeah, if they can manage to pull a gap from the cars behind, sure it might be difficult for the other teams to catch up to them.
Yes, and if you can get that gap at Daytona, you're in for a good thing. But of course, one caution can throw it all out of the window and scupper all of your chances. All it takes is that one incident in the pack, and everything's gone completely different. For tonight's race, we're looking probably at if it goes green, we'll be looking at a one-stop race here tonight. Of course, this is the duel to actually set the grid for Daytona. So this isn't actually the Daytona race. This is the qualifying race for it. So the finishing order here will set the grid for the 500 on Saturday, which of course is the full 500, which is going to be a long old day, isn't it?
Yes, it'll be a very long day. I'm sure everyone wants to get through this clean scathed and have a good result. They can actually race in the 500. Now, Carl, would we just like to run through the starting order for this one?
Yes, so up front we have Jason Martin. Second place, well, second in the row, we have Daniel Stevens, Josh Micklemore third, Raymond Yeager fourth. On the third row we have Dave Douglas and Jason Hartigan. On the fourth, we have Phil Otto, Neil Pearson. Fifth, Josh Micklemore and Norman Clark. Sixth, Matt Allison and Matt Hunter. Seventh, Edward Foster and Scott Butler. Eighth, Mirko Dortnack with John O'Hancock. In eighth place, in eighth on the grid, Paul Daniel and Chris Purnell. Then Ryan DeCarthy MacArthur with Mick Skurlock. Then Maddie Quirk with James Roby. Simon Sirocco with Ryan Bull. Riley Curtis with Hamish Gallagher. Robert Mason with Danny G. Stephen Williams, Michael Cracknell, and at the back we have Rick Hobbs. And we're green for the race. So just about got it out there in one sort of breath as we go green. So Jason Martin gets out in front straight away, and that's going to be where he's going to want to sit for sure. Daniel Stevens has just sort of sat in behind him, with Josh Micklemore slotting in just behind Jason Martin himself. So the Mitch Motorsport boys have actually got themselves in a really good position for the start of this race.
Absolutely, 1, 2, and I don't think they're third, but definitely the Mitch Motorsport guys trying to start here early, trying to start very strong here. And let's see if they can work together to pull away from the rest of the guys. As we're seeing, they're going side by side. There's smoke in the background there.
I thought I saw a little bit. I'm not sure what it was. I think it might have just been somebody just losing a bit of grip as they went round. So nothing that I can see out there. But we've got the two lines running up at the moment. So we've got the high line and the low line, of course. And this is what you'll expect to see in the 500, where you have those two lines running in the race. And looks like maybe just having a look, I think maybe Matt Hunter had a small problem, and that might have been the smoke we saw. He's fallen a little bit off the pace and fallen a bit further back. But we'll jump up to the front, and the racing is getting pretty close up here already.
Yeah, the guys definitely aren't mucking around up the front here. Very close battles, side by side, coming across the start-finish line.
And that high line is starting to push forward. We've got Raymond Yeager being pushed forwards a little bit. And you can just see those cars. they're just starting to slot around in those positions. Danny Stevens is in front, of course, and he's starting to get a little bit of help from behind him with Hartigan. So getting a nice little push here in that very brightly coloured car for Danny Stevens there. What a brilliant livery that one is. And they're just starting to work their way up, but they're losing a little bit through the corners for sure.
Definitely seeing as the guys come out of the exit of the corners that the high line's definitely starting to work for them. Here we're looking at Danny Stevens. He's making that high line work, trying to go around the outside of Jason Martin. Getting a real good run on here into turn 1.
Yeah, down that back straight. Definitely got a bit more speed on that high line. Just getting a bit of a better exit out of out of the tri-oval section. But then once we get back onto that tri-oval, it looks like the bottom line's working. But right now we get the high line's getting the proper push. Danny Stevens is going for it in the number 5. And it looks like he's going to try and get down there. And sitting up there still, and we've got a crash at the back. We've got a spin at the back. It looks like Norman Clark was involved in that one, and quite a few other drivers.
Hamish Gallagher's around. Brett Garrett's around.
Quite a few drivers with that one. We'll just try and work out what happened with that one.
So we'll have a look.
Oh, so Scott Butler went up into the wall and went round, and then avoiding action behind him caused a few people to get involved in that accident, unfortunately. So a fair few cars got some damage in that one. A real shame there for them. So sort of from about 16th down, quite a few cars got quite a bit of damage there. So yeah, so it looks like went up into the wall, caught Norman Clark, and then a fair few cars went round in the back just trying to take avoiding action. And this is the kind of thing you will see here at Daytona. And you don't have small crashes here. There's never a small crash at Daytona.
No, there never is. And as we're having a look through the cars now, there's a few cars with damaged rear ends on them. So as the race goes to hand, I wonder if they will lose a bit of straight line speed due to that damage.
It's never fun to have damage here. It doesn't help you out. Sometimes you know, it's not too bad. It's superficial damage, but that aero does really make a big difference. You know, the aero is important here, and we're probably going to see drivers looking at coming into the pits. A few do, and a few don't. So it looks like Jason Martin stayed out with many of the other leaders, but a few other cars have come in. Raymond Yeager is the first of those drivers to come in, I think, from those sort of top spots. So they're going to look to get a little bit of a top up of fuel, probably change tyres in this stop because there's not much fuel that they can add, so they might keep tyres. We'll see what happens here because tyres aren't really an issue here. It's more about the fuel. So it's going to be interesting to see what strategies they go for. Raymond Yeager's definitely getting some new tyres put on the front of his car. A few other drivers just taking fuel on this one. So we'll see if he actually gets any benefit from those fresh tyres.
Yes, it looks like Raymond Yeager's taken tyres. Phil Otto looks like he may have just taken fuel as there was a quick splash and dash just before they go green flag running again. But under this caution, this is where the strategy comes into play here at Daytona. Some guys are staying out. The lead cars are staying out, which they should. But a few cars further down the pack are pitting to see if they can make that undercut work.
Yes, well, it's that thing. Daytona, generally, if you're not in front, you want to be quite far behind for most of the race. It's a strange thing here because, of course, it's very easy to get caught up in an incident. When you're in the front and there's just, there are two drivers up front, generally you're not going to get involved in a crash. When you're mid-pack, that's where it gets dangerous. So dropping yourself back a bit for a pit stop can work out. Of course, pitting under yellow means you don't lose a lap, which is a big important thing in oval racing. And just that little bit of extra fuel is going to help them go a little bit longer as well. Now, you're going to save some fuel in this yellow period while you're going slow. You'll see a lot of drivers just lifting, coasting, sometimes even switching their engines off as they go down straights. But the guys that have come in for fuel are going to be able to run about 1 or 2 laps longer than the rest, and they may see a caution come out for themselves while the leaders don't get it. So it's always that thing of strategy here.
Strategy is definitely going to come to play around here. I wonder if this undercut can work. I mean, these guys are going to have the draft, and front leading cars will obviously pit that 3 or 4 laps earlier than what these guys that have just pitted are. I wonder if, yeah, if this undercut will work around here.
Well, from sort of a bit of testing and things like that, we could get about 38 laps of fuel from the car. Being a 60-lap race, everybody's going to have to stop again. Nobody's going to be able to make it to the end, I don't think. Unless they can perform some miracle out there with fuel saving. But yeah, just that little bit of extra time out on track could really help them out. Of course, the other thing about leading the race is you're punching air in the hole for everybody else. So you've got more drag on your car, which means you use a bit more fuel. So everybody behind you has a nice bit of fuel saving as they go through the race.
Yeah, for sure. And I wonder if when we go back to green flag running, that maybe Jason Martin might come in behind his teammate Josh Mickelmore just to save that little bit of fuel, because saw in the first opening laps that Josh Mickelmore was right up behind his teammate Jason Martin. So we also saw Daniel Stevens was running side by side with Jason Martin. So maybe these guys might even work together. We know that Josh Mickelmore and Jason Martin are teammates, but maybe the 3 and even the 4 with Jason Hardigan working together to try and save some fuel as the safety car has just come into pit road, and we're going green flag running once again.
Back under green once more, and we are away, and Jason Martin's just going to try and pull out a little bit here. Of course, one of the big things after a caution is yellows sometimes breed more yellows, and that's something that you can see happen sometimes, so hopefully we won't see that. Everybody will get away cleanly. But it looks like the high line got a bit of a poor start there. They really lost a few spots. They're about 3 or 4 car lengths behind the leader now, and this is going to really help out the leaders as Danny Stevens just gives one of the other drivers a little bit of a touch on the door just as he's coming up there, just trying to get back in those positions.
We've just seen Ed Foster get up to P4. And he's looking like to have a bit of a run on Neil Pearson here around the outside, coming down the main straight.
Yeah, he's managed to pull himself really well out of the pack there. It was Foster that just got a little tap on the door as he was going down the back straight from Danny Stevens, as they were trying to sort of nuzzle their way to position, and that's given Ed a chance to put himself in front of that second pack now. So he's going to try and work his way up the field with the other group of cars. Danny Stevens has dropped behind that now, but he's still sitting on the tail of them. So he's in a relatively good position now because he can start saving fuel, and he can start sort of working it out. Of course, the downside of being in the back of the pack is your car's going to get a bit hotter, so you're going to need to dart out for a bit more air here and there. When you are in front, of course, you get a nice lot of cool air in the engine, and that makes a bit of difference as well.
Absolutely, mate. And here we have Jason Martin, P1, Bitch Motorsport, and then his teammate just behind him, Josh Mickelmore. And then we have the 2 JP Simshed guys. I think, yeah, I know Harold Walden's just fallen a bit behind, but we're Ed Foster in now P3, and then Neil Pearson just behind him. And behind Ed Foster here is Dave Douglas running in behind Ed Foster, trying to get that draft as they take the high line around here.
Yeah, of course, Dave Douglas, Foster's former teammate at Riley Curtis Design. They've now gone to different teams. Dave Douglas now racing for Illusion, but those two know each other quite well, and I'm sure they'll be happy to work together at this early stage of the race. And it brings a lot of confidence when you know the drivers around you. It makes it a bit easier, and you can see that outside line starting to push now. Foster's just managing to get his nose ahead of Martin's car there a couple of times as they drop back through the first corner. It seems to be the sort of pattern around here at the moment. The first corner, that high line is a bit slower, but when they go through the trioval section, they've definitely got a bit more speed.
We have a look at Ed Foster here. Something to note, Ed Foster actually started in 13th, and he's made his way up to 3rd position now, so he's had a very good start to this race. Kept it clean, used that safety car that caution, to his advantage, and he's definitely making moves up here.
Yeah, and Foster, of course, running on a bit of a high at the moment after his success in the trucks on Monday night. So He's hoping for a bit of repeat success for the Duel at least, and then hopefully for the 500, I am sure. Dave Douglas, of course, is always a dangerous guy to have behind you because he is very fast and he is very good at finishing these super speedways in first place as well. So some really fast runners up the front there. And as you said, Foster working his way up there from 13th place, just moving up those positions. Dave Douglas himself sitting in 5th place, and he's just got up to 4th, sorry, but he's sitting in the sort of similar place as he qualified, and that's what we see from Douglas a lot of the time. He's very consistent.
He sure is, and as you can see, definitely running with Ed Foster in that high line. Side by side here with Josh Mickelmore into turn 1. He's definitely lines of 2 at the front here. And Neil Pearson and Jason Harding in the 3rd row back.
Yeah, it's a bit of the old Noah Arks thing of 2x2 here. And you can see the cars are just getting a little bit wobbly through the corners. As they come through the corners, you get that side draft, of course, and that can throw the car out a little bit. It's very hard running this close to another car. Something we actually said before the race this weekend was, you know, if you're not confident driving these super speedways, you know, it's not a bad thing to say, look, I'll wait till next race, because that's a different form of racing. It's a different form of talent you need for this. And keeping those cars on the track in these conditions, in such close racing, is a hard thing to do.
Something that we also noticed in the practice session here, Carl, is that when the cars were running so close together, we actually saw a few of the engines blow up. So something that Josh Mickelmore will have to watch as he's closely behind his teammate Jason Martin is make sure that his engine doesn't get too hot, or else he may find himself with an engine failure.
Yeah, always a problem on these speedways if you run too close. Of course, one of the big changes from practice and the little qualifying session before the duel to now is it's now night time, of course. So the air temperature has dropped by about a good 10-15 degrees. So that's going to help these guys out in following a bit closer for a little bit longer. But you still have to be careful for it. And as you can see, just going past a car that's a lap down at the moment, just going past, just trying to see who that was.
Clark, I believe.
Norman Clark there, yeah. He's just sitting up there, just getting out the way. But having to go right up high to do that, running 3 wide on those corners. And that's a scary thing to do sometimes. When you're running 3 wide at Daytona, it's not a fun place to be.
Yeah, for sure, mate. You can see even the guys are starting to lose the rear end, being side by side, let alone 3 wide. Sorry, as approaching another lapped car, Lindsay Hobbs. It looks like Lindsay may have been involved in that early collision that brought out the first caution.
Yeah, it's a little bit of damage there and off the pace for sure, but this is where you can see the difference between the draft and not the draft. These lapped cars they're coming up on, once they latch onto the back of these cars, they sort of fall back into position here, and then they'll just keep on the same pace of the leaders. When you're out of that draft, though, you're losing a good second a lap at most, you know, sort of minimal even. You start losing a lot of speed as well. Sort of, for instance, speed-wise, guys in the draft at the moment are doing about 318 kilometers per hour, whereas the guys that are outside of the draft, not drafting at the moment, are doing about 280. So there are big speed differences here, and you get such fast closing speeds when you come up on those guys that are being lapped if they're not drafting somebody else.
Absolutely, mate. You definitely need to stay within draft around a circuit like Daytona, super speedway, very fast. And if you lose that draft, you can see yourself falling behind, unfortunately.
And that's the problem here sometimes. And the other thing as well is one of the strange things you have to really get used to with pack racing, such close racing here, is for somebody like Josh Mickelmore at the moment, while Jason Martin out front has just got his foot glued to the floor, the throttle is fully open, he doesn't have to worry about it at all. What Josh Mickelmore will have to do is just lift off just very slightly as he's coming through the corners, because he'll be having a bit more speed than the guy in front of him. So you can't really use your brakes, because you'll just go into, somebody behind you will just go into the back of you. But you just have to lift that ever so slight amount just to sort of keep in that position. And it's a real skill to have, and it's very hard to master. And when these guys run so close, it is really just jaw-dropping how well they do it.
Talk about running so close. Within the top 10 cars, the last lap was within half a second of each other. So, sorry, half a tenth of each other. So they're all running very similar times, and it's going to be very hard to try and pull away at this rate, I think.
Yes, it makes it tricky. Well, just to look at the timing, 14th place Matt Hunter, he is 1 second and 1.18 seconds down in 14th place, and he's the only guy that's over a second. Everybody else is under that. So everybody from 13th place down is within a second of that leader. Very close stuff right here on this oval.
Sure is. The top 11, 12th, even with Michael Ladder coming here at 11th place. It's very close. We've seen these guys running side by side for the last 10 laps or so now since that green flag came out after the first caution. So, yeah, we're not really seeing anyone pull away here.
No, and that's one of the things you will find in this series of racing on this style of super speedway is you don't really get anyone pulling away. You don't really get much difference, much gap at the front. But you've got to keep up the front. You've just got to keep there for the last lap because sometimes leading the last lap is not an ideal place to be. You kind of want to be second place in that draft so you can get that extra kick of speed. You don't pull away unless you sort of get a pack that breaks apart. And that's kind of what's happened with the front pack. You know, as the packs start to break apart, you start running different packs. You sort of got the second pack forming up behind Matt Hunter at the moment, who's trying to keep on the back of Takafi McArthur at the moment. But you've got people like Danny G down there who's wanting to try and get up and help his teammates down at Mixed Motorsport. Raymond Yeager, who was that guy, the first one of the guys up in that higher position to take the pit stop earlier on. He's running down in 17th at the moment, and he's losing a bit of time because he's not in that sort of that main pack, but he has got a little bit more fuel on board, remember. So it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out with pit stops as well. Just in regards to people that have stopped, Dave Douglas is the first guy to be really looking good. Dave Douglas did make a stop in that round of in that caution last time, so he's got some fuel on board as they come up on another lapped car and just have to edge out of it just a bit there because it just was a bit sort of a little bit sketchy there for a couple of seconds.
Dave Douglas, as you said, is taking that pit stop in the first caution, so he's looking very strong here. He would have lost quite a few places at that pit stop, but managed to work his way back through the draft, passing cars, working their way through the lap traffic as we're seeing. And yeah, he's now in, what's that, 5th place now?
Yeah, he's sitting well at the moment, and you know he's on that outside line. He's second in the outside line as well. So even though he's sitting back at 5th at the moment, that will be second or first in a couple of laps' time, or you know it will change around quite quickly. He's in a good spot as it sits because as everybody comes in for their pit stop, he'll be able to run an extra lap maybe, and just keep it a little bit longer just in case of that caution. One of the problems with that, though, is if you do stop later than everybody else in that sort of top pack, and it is a green flag stop, you're going to come out and there's not going to be anyone drafting around you. You're going to lose that draft position. So there's always a risk and a gamble on these tracks.
Yeah, and as you said, very fast track, and if you lose that draft by taking that pit stop, it could cost you in the long run because if these guys stay out and keep doing the laps, oh, there's contact in the back. Jason Hardigan and Joshua Carroll-Walden, the two JP Simshed guys. All this big carnage here at pit exit.
A lot of cars involved in that, unfortunately. Yeah, Jason Hardigan and Joshua Carroll-Walden, JCW there getting caught up in that. One of the Illusion cars as well got caught up there as they were going round. So quite a few drivers involved in that incident, unfortunately. We'll just try and have a little look through and see who exactly went off there. Yeah, quite a few drivers caught up in that one, unfortunately.
Just going across the finish line. They lost the rear as they went through the corner as it is at Daytona. And yeah, unfortunately he wiped out his teammate, JCW. So guys at JP Simshed wouldn't be very happy about that, but at least they still got Edward Foster up the front running really strong.
Well, this is it. In obviously JCW is coming from being sort of out on his own for most of last season into a new team. So the new team, you've got to start working out and sort of getting used to everybody around you. One of the things with that incident, though, is it's just a momentary lapse of concentration. It's just a small quarter of a millimeter sort of mistake, and that's it. You've sort of you're in a big accident, and you can take out a few people. A real unfortunate set of events there. Matt Hunter also got caught up in that incident, unfortunately. So quite a few drivers got caught up in that one. So we'll see how this shakes out, because I imagine everybody's going to be making a pit stop now.
Sure, mate. We now see. That's not Jonathan Hancock in the lead, is it? I think he might be the lucky dog here and be the first car that is just
Uh,
behind the leader here.
No, he's 11 laps down. He's just come out with some repairs, so he's quite a bit down at the moment. So he's just trying to get some positions up. But he is a couple of laps down. He's 11 laps down at the moment, so a few laps to gain up for him. But as we expect, everybody's going to be coming into the pits for this one. I can't imagine anyone will stay out for that. And you have to be careful here at Daytona for pitting. It's not so bad under a caution, but under a green flag, this pit road can be very slippery, can really catch you out.
The last thing these guys at the front here want to do is drive past their pit bay, which I'm sure a lot of us have done in the past, but especially with the close running up here, if you run past your pit bay, it could cost you up to 10 seconds here. And if you lose 10 seconds to the leader, there goes all that draft that you've worked hard for the first 26 laps.
Yes, and a few cars there just taking, looks like they were just taking one set of tyres. So one set of tyres. Jason Martin's out of the lead now. So a few cars actually just rolling just gambling there a little bit and taking one side only for the tyres, not taking all of them, because that's put. I think Daniel Stevens might actually be in the lead at the moment, or Dave Douglas, one of those two guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've worked that one out perfectly. For that earlier stop as well, they would have needed a little bit less fuel as well, of course. People like Dave Douglas wouldn't have had to take as much fuel as everybody else, so that would have helped cut down some of his pit time. But Jason Martin definitely took all four tyres. So a few guys there just rolling the dice a little bit, because from what I've heard from the drivers tonight, is the tyres are not the problem, it's the fuel. These tyres can go for about 40 laps, 40 or so laps before they start becoming problematic. So it's just a thing of fuel at the moment for these guys. So yeah, so rolling the dice there a little bit and getting a good position out of it was Dave Douglas.
It looks like Dave Douglas has definitely jumped the guys in pit road. Dave for Illusion Motorsports, and then we got Daniel Stevens for Middle Finger Racing. So this will be interesting come the green flag. These guys might end up pulling away from cars behind, actually, because there might be a bit of a gap to P5 onwards.
Yes, of course, MFR, Middle Finger Racing this year, bit of a new livery for them and a very funky paint scheme as well. As I say, it's a nice bright one out there, nice and easy to spot for sure. But they're having a strong start to this race. Danny Stevens is having a good strong start to his season in the Cup here. It's good to see for them. Of course, the usual suspects are up the front, but it's nice to see some of the guys that have sort of been sitting back a little bit through other races, just getting up there a bit. Speaking of people that have managed to climb positions, Danny G is now in 7th place. He's managed to work his way up through all of that carnage, and that's going to help out Jason Martin and Josh Micklemore, of course. The Mitch Motorsport guys have now got 3 cars up in that sort of top 10.
Talk about Danny G. He started 28th position, so now be running up in 7th. I'm not sure if he pitted that portion. He's taken 2 pit stops, so maybe he did. So
yes, he did come in this pit stop, and what I think's happened with him is because he had a little bit less fuel to take on board, it's just meant that he's managed to get out a bit quicker than some of those other guys.
now, Carl, can you run me through the operation of this caution? For those that don't know of what happens under caution, there's a certain speed that the drivers have to stick to, or do they just stick behind the safety car like a normal road race?
Sticking behind the safety car, so you'll keep in pretty much single file until you start gridding up. So you'll see drivers starting to get in position now as it's going to be, the safety car is going to be in next lap most likely. Everybody will be getting in positions as the lights go off on the safety car. So it's like a normal road race with a safety car. You stick behind it. There's no speed limit, but you've got to sort of keep within, close distance of each other. No huge gaps, things like that. And then when you get to the final corner, you'll see the safety car peel into the pit lane, and then effectively Dave Douglas will become that safety car until the green light shows, and then you have to just go. Now, where it sort of does differ, of course, is with oval racing over sort of track racing, sometimes you have a safety car line, things like that. So you have to wait until you can overtake. With oval racing, you overtake as soon as that green comes out, you're on it. So everybody's going to form up 2 by 2 here in their positions. So you'll have Dave Douglas and Danny Stevens, Josh Micklemore, Foster, Jason Martin, Paul Daniel, Danny G, Neil Pearson, Phil Otto, Chris Purnell in the top 10 there, and they're all going to form up side by side, and then they're all going to let loose.
Having a look at Paul Daniel here in the Carlton Dry livery. We haven't really spoken much about Paul. He's sort of been in the background of front-running cars, but now he's managed to work his way up to P6 after starting 17th. So let's see if Paul can really run with the front runners here and maybe prove to be the underdog here.
Yes, let's see if he can work some magic out for this one. It could be a good race for him. He's running really well at the moment, and he's getting in some good positions as we're just about to go green. And in comes the pace car, and the green flag will drop, and away we go.
Back to green flag racing here at Daytona International Speedway. Daniel G's got a great jump on Paul Daniel here up the inside. Managed to gain a spot on the restart here. And who we got at the front here? Dave Douglas.
Yeah, so Dave Douglas is he's right up front. He's sat on that inside line at the moment with Micklemore behind him, and then Martin and Danny G. So the Mitch Motorsport boys, more importantly, are now in a line. So behind Douglas, all 3 Mitch Motorsport cars are now in a line. So that's going to make it a bit interesting. That could really help them out for this race.
I'm sure those guys will now start to work together. As you said, the 3 of them are now in a line, apart from Dave Douglas running for Illusion Motorsports. Yeah, these guys should work together, and maybe they might come out on top here.
Yeah, you can never write these guys off. I mean, Josh Micklemore last season had an amazing run. Through the first 8 or 9 races, he had 0 incident points, which is just outstanding on oval racing. It's very hard to do. Of course, yeah, it was a very decent one. And then you've got people like Danny G, who's always hungry for a win. He's very close. He's always up there or thereabouts. And then, of course, Jason Martin, the winner of the, not last year championship, but the year before that. Jason Martin is a pedigree driver, and he's always up there for race wins. He's very, very fast when it comes to it. But as you can see now, the cars on the outside line are starting to push out as Micklemore just tries to edge him out a little bit. He just pulls out of the draft there and just goes towards Danny Stevens and just gives him a little bit of a push just to try and make him lose a bit of area, because I imagine the Mitch Motorsport boys want to break out now and get in front of Dave Douglas. Paul Daniel, as you're saying, down there in 7th at the moment. He's doing really well for Down Under Motorsport. Doing a fantastic job on his own out there tonight. So good job on him. One of the sort of single team cars out there. So really good for him to be up there. It does make a difference when you're in sort of a lone team rather than a full team. It does make difference there.
Definitely looks like Josh Micklemore wants to get past Dave Douglas, maybe try that high line. Unfortunately for Josh, Daniel Stevens is right here next to him. Like Josh might be starting to move over a little bit mid-corner, which definitely slowing down Daniel Stevens. But Daniel's now around the outside, coming down the back straight here.
And we've got the number 9 of Neil Pearson trying to go 3 wide down there. He's starting to pull up and pull around there. So a bit of bravery there from Neil Pearson. Sort of running through wide for a moment there, but he's getting onto that high line now. He's going to stick himself on the back of that high line and see how he goes there.
Saw Neil running up the front with the Foster and the Martin at the front at the start of the race, but he must have lost a bit of time under that caution. He would have pitted, but I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, they've moved around a bit, but they have dropped into a position with the other DPR cars. So you've got Bill Otto down there, as well as Neil Pearson, and I think there's a third one down there, possibly. I think I sort of caught one. Just trying to see if I did actually spot that or if it's just a livery that looks the same. But they're just falling into position, trying to actually get into a good spot for working together, basically, as teammates. So they're going to start trying their best to sort of push their way up. And now we're sort of halfway through this, we're just over halfway through the duel now. We're going to see guys starting to think strategically, trying to get themselves into running partners, trying to get their team in position to run with them, try and get that draft working for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. We're within the last 26 laps of this race as they're coming up onto a lapped car. That is, I believe, Ryan Bull. So Ryan's just staying that high side, trying to get out of the way of these faster coming cars. Looks like Ryan has a bit of damage on his left rear quarter panel. Doing a very good job of staying out of the way here.
Yeah, good on him for getting up there. He went a little bit wobbly as he went up there, and that's something you've got to be careful of occasionally. It's not just hard racing a NASCAR, an oval car, a cup car. It's also hard being at the back, being lapped, because you don't have to get out of the way of somebody. You can sit there. There's no rules, there's no blue flags in oval racing. You've got to pass people, you've got to pass back markers yourself. Now, on a super speedway, generally, there's that sort of unwritten rule where they will get out of the way. But sometimes getting out of the way can be worse for you, because if you go up to that high line, you're going to start getting on marbles. And of course, you also start getting into a bit of a circuit that you're not used to running on. And you can sometimes cause a big accident from it. So it is a tricky thing to do, and it's another skill that you need to have in this kind of racing.
Having a look at the times of the last laps, there was less than a tenth with the top six, so these guys are really matching each other for pace. And come the last few laps, I'm sure these guys will really be doing everything they can to make sure that they win the duel for Daytona 500.
Yeah, it's all about getting on that front row, and people are going to want to get there. Of course, they're also going to want to think about their teams as well, because if you can't get the win, if you can't get the pole position for this or in the front row of this, then finishing in, say, 10th position, say 9th and 10th with your teammates is not a bad thing, because then you're going to be able to work together in the race itself. It's a bit of a strategic race, this one, where winning is going to help for sure. It's always good to start at the front, because obviously when you're in the lead, you're less likely to have an incident. But you do have to think about your teammates and try and work out where you're going to finish. You want to try and all finish together so you can work together and draft together. Just having a little bit of a look down, Michael Cracknell in the Zuma Racing car, the 205, is having a really good run at the moment. He's up in 10th position at this stage, and he's gained 20 spots. So good running from him getting up there. Of course, Danny G is the leader of the most spots gained at the moment with 21, as he sits in 7th at the moment. But really good going for those guys.
Absolutely, mate. As we spoke about at the start of this broadcast, we spoke about awards. Now, who do you think it may be in the running? Well, there's a crash at the front here. Big wreck.
Big wreck there, as quite a few cars involved.
Phil Otto, Hamish Gallagher is just taking a jump over the road course onto the oval here. Yeah,
Hamish Gallagher had big contact there as well as Phil Otto. I'm just going to go back and have a little look at that. I think the 920, sorry, I think Chris Purnell, oh no, it was Phil Otto, I need to go back and have another look at that one, because he went down. It just almost looks like he didn't notice Chris Purnell went, nope, he lost the rear end of it. So Phil Otto's the rear end has just got loose on him, and he's gone right down into Purnell, hit Purnell in the side, and a big incident there. They've all gone round, and then poor Hamish Gallagher got T-boned right in the side, and that's a big one. Big incident there, and taking a few drivers out. That was a nasty one.
That was exactly what we saw happen for the second caution, I believe that was the caution just before this one, for Jason Hardigan coming over the control line. Yeah, the rear just stepped out a bit and unfortunately made contact with his teammate. Looks like Phil Otto has had the exact same thing happen here. Just in that draft, maybe a bit of aero wash come under the car, and unfortunately, it's just that he's about the rear of his car out, and yeah, he's made contact with the car on the inside, and unfortunately, it's created a bit of a wreck.
Yeah, that's a real shame, and there's never a small crash here at Daytona. That's one of the things you will always learn. There is never a small crash here. So I imagine we're going to see everybody come in for their last stop now, unless we... I can't see anyone staying, sort of going in for another stop, even if we get another caution from here on in. Um, they'll be able to make it on fuel numbers for sure. So I imagine we're going to see all the leaders come in. Brilliant job by Paul Daniel, though. I'm pretty sure Paul Daniel, he managed to avoid that wreck. He just narrowly escaped that wreck there, as well as Michael Cracknell, but he got hit in the front. So he sort of got a big whack in the front and has lost the whole front end of his car, and the left front, sorry, the left front wheel is now also at a little bit of a more jaunty angle than usual. So a big bit of devastation for those guys, as it looks like the leaders are staying out. So it looks like everybody's staying out. It looks like they're going to keep out on this one and not come in. So yeah, that was a bit of a big one. So
Something we'd like to just touch base on at the start of broadcast, Carl. We spoke about the awards, and who do you think tonight might be in running for the best and fairest?
well, it's at the moment I've got to go with Dave Douglas, possibly up there. He's having a fantastic job, but also Danny G, getting himself up into 6th place now. He's really working his way up the field. Dave Douglas is always a fair driver as well. He's very good at keeping it close, things like that too. So the Abruzzi the Abruzzi gloves and boots sort of could be going towards him towards the end of the season. Also, just having a quick look at some of the newer drivers as well out there. So there are some sort of new faces out there, which is good to see. And some people that have not raced quite as much. People like Matt Allison, Ryan McCarthy. He did have a couple of races last year, but not too many. And again, they could be looking in good contention for the Rookie of the Year sort of thing for, again, the Abruzzi karting boots and long or short gloves. Of course, the other thing as well is, sorry, not the Abruzzi, the Virtual Motorsport Mentoring Rookie of the Year deal, which could really help some of those guys out. Really would be some good help. One other thing I want to mention as well while we're under caution is the fantastic job iLiveries has done as well for the overlays. iLiveries always giving us some good bits and bobs and bringing us some fantastic looking stuff this season, making the stream look much... The stream looked fantastic last year. Matt Hunter did an amazing job, but this year with a little bit more backing behind us, we've got a fantastic looking stream, I must say. And that's a big thanks to SimShed Broadcasting as well for getting us that deal and getting us this stream.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Very big thanks to iLiveries. Their guys do a great job of finding cars and painting cars, and they've come on board as a sponsor for the series, and yeah, our overlays look awesome. And just while we're speaking about sponsors, we'd also like to shout out to Virtual Motorsport Mentor. They're giving up coaching to either groups or individuals to help with their sim racing needs. So a very good business, I suppose you call it, has started up, and if you guys would like to head over to their Facebook page and give them a check out, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, a fantastic opportunity there to learn from some of the best oval races out there. People, you know, you've got people like Chris Purnell, who is just, you know, they always set some good times, always some good races, things like that. It's what we like to see as well, helping the community. It's one of the harder things to get into sometimes sim racing, because it does feel a little bit it's a little bit scary. When you see the pace of some of these guys, it can be a little bit off-putting because they are fast. They really do have some speed. And you sort of go, wow, I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to be as fast as these guys. But when you get some coaching, when you get some help, and one of the good thing about ANZCAR is there are lots of people out there willing to help out. But with Virtual Motorsport Mentor, it's just going to give you a little bit of extra edge. You're going to get some private coaching, and that's really going to help you out. It just really adds some extra speed to you and just lets you understand how these oval races work. If you're coming from predominantly a sort of road racing experience, it is a very different set of skills you need. And even though it might just be turning left most of the time, turning left can be very hard, as the pace car is going to come in on this lap, and we're going to go back to green and get back to racing for the ANZCAR Abruzzi Cup Series for the duel for the Daytona grid positions.
As you talk about road races coming to oval and turning left, I've actually found myself coming from road to oval, and yes, it's considered easy, but it's definitely not easy. I mean, I'm well off the pace of these front running cars, and that just goes to show the difference of one, what practice makes, but also putting time and dedication into this, because it can definitely take you places racing oval, and we're definitely going to see some of these guys, I reckon, take the next step into the oval racing.
Well, we have some of the drivers. We have people like Braden Burles, as we're just about to go green here. Um, and I'll wait to continue that after we go green. And back to live racing. So Dave Douglas will just get ready for it. And green we go, and away they go. Dave Douglas drops the hammer. But you can see on the outside now, all three of the Mitch Motorsport racing cars are in a line together. And this could be dangerous for that outside line. This could really help them off, as Danny Stevens is behind Dave Douglas with Ed Foster behind him. And then we've got Paul Daniel as well, just behind him, running up there. Really good run for him at the moment. So away we go, and as we've seen before, that bottom line has a good start on this run. They have a good first couple of corners, but then that rear line starts catching up. Looks like Danny G's just trying to work out which line to go for. He's actually dropped down into the bottom line at the moment, rather than sticking up there with his teammates. So he might just be going in there just for a bit of a safety position. As we see Jason Martin start to push along Josh Micklemore here. So these guys are going to start trying to get those positions up and try to get out in front now.
So Michael Ladder just at the back here is running in P9, just trying to hang on to these leading cars, and just behind Michael is Tristan Koch. On the outside of him is Ryan DeCarter. So these guys are trying to stay with the lead cars and make sure they don't pull away, because we only got 16 laps here of Daytona. So these guys really want to make sure that they can keep within range of the front running cars, so that they can have a real crack at it in the last 10 laps.
That's it, and as we see that, the outside line has managed to get the jump ahead of Dave Douglas. So we've got there, Josh Micklemore is now ahead of Dave Douglas with Jason Martin behind him. Foster tried to hang on, to jump onto that line and try and get pulled up with him, but they've now dropped down, and that's going to hurt him a little bit. He might start losing time. So his best friend at the moment is going to be Skurlock just behind him, giving him a little bit of a push, helping him to get forwards a little bit. So he's going to be hoping for somebody to come out there and join him on that outside line. Otherwise, he might lose some positions, but he might have enough speed to get down in front of Dave Douglas at the moment. Will he be able to do it, though?
We're seeing these the two Mitch Motorsport guys of Josh Micklemore and Jason Martin. You can definitely see that they're working together. They actually managed to pull a little bit of a gap from Dave Douglas. Dave has now fallen back. He's now back into P5, just by Michael Skurlock. And these Skurlock and Foster are working together to try and match it with these Mitch Motorsport guys, and they're trying to work it around the outside as they come into one.
But if you look behind Douglas, there is another Illusion car coming up behind him, as trying to look to see who that is, and that's DeCarthy McCarthy. So I'm pretty sure what we had there was Dave Douglas just playing a bit of a blocker there, just slowing down the rest of the cars so he could get himself up in the middle of that group, so they can get a nice outside pack forming, of which they've done now, which is 5 cars strong, and this is going to help them push forwards. And as you can see, within half a lap, Dave Douglas has gone from almost about 3 or 4 car lengths behind to almost overtaking Josh Micklemore now, as Edward Foster is now just in front of Micklemore. Will we see him drop down in front of him, or will he stay out there on the outside line for the time being? It's going to be an interesting spot to see. He's going to try and have to decide who he wants to stick with. He's going in the middle at the moment, and it looks like we're going to go 3 wide here as we're going through the first corner, and Edward Foster's stuck in the middle. That's allowed Josh Micklemore to pull out in front, but we've got Michael Skurlock getting a push from Dave Douglas now. Foster's going to start dropping back, and this is going to help Micklemore, but those illusion cars are really going to start pushing forwards, but being that high up on the line, they might start losing a bit of time. So they're going to want to try and reform back into that mid-pack, try and form back up into that nice line, push Foster forwards a little bit, because Foster is basically keeping those illusion cars behind him, saying, look, if you guys want to get to the front, you're going to have to push me as well. And, yeah, sort of causing them to have to push him up. So you've got the illusion cars working together very well back there, with the Mitch Motorsport boys in front, but they're going to start catching once again on this lap, on lap 48.
Very good job from Chris Purnell, just get out of the way here. Teammates are in that battle at the front, so the last thing he would have wanted to do is get involved in that. So Chris has done an excellent job of just going below the yellow line and just getting out of the way. As you can see, the Illusion guys and the Mitch Motorsport guys really working together, and Daniel Stevens for Middle Finger Racing is just holding on the back here, and the solo man Ed Foster is just hanging out the outside trying to do his thing. He's a very experienced man when it comes to oval, and I'm sure Ed definitely knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's been racing oval in games since the days of keyboard racing, so he's got some experience racing NASCARs. You can just see that Takafi McCarthy dropped back a fair bit, but then got caught back up in that draft, and he's just got sucked back towards the Illusion guys. Those 3 cars are working very hard to push themselves up there. They want to try and get up there, but they're not going to be able to get in front with Foster sitting where he is. They want to try and get Foster to go down and sit in front of the Mitch Motorsport boys if they want to get this win for the duel. Because as it stands, they're going to finish in second place. As Foster goes into Micklemore, Foster's just tapped Micklemore. Around they go. Micklemore's gone hard into the wall. Foster's managed to just about keep it, but that is a huge incident there. And we've managed to keep green for the time being, and that's going to help Illusion enormously.
That was a very awkward moment. It looks like go back have a look at it. Oh yeah, they just collided. No one got loose in the rear or anything. Just unfortunately for those 2 drivers of Foster and Josh Micklemore, they fortunately just came together, which is so very easy to do. As in oval racing, everyone just runs so close together, and unfortunately for those 2 drivers, they've unfortunately just come too close.
Yeah, Foster just dropping down a little bit too quickly there and just tagging. And it's, look, a little bit of door rubbing is always what happens in this style of racing, in stock car racing, but sometimes you can rub a bit too hard, and unfortunately that's really made a big dent on Micklemore's race. That's put him down quite a bit, but it's going to help Illusion out enormously right here. So yeah, Illusion are working well, but Jason Martin is getting a good bit of help from Daniel Stevens now, and Jason Martin's managing to make that high line work for him. But he's going to try and get back in the front. Daniel Stevens drops down, but we're going to look to go 3 wide through the corner here on the back corner, as we do, and that's going to mean Jason Martin's going to fall back. So he's going to start to have to push Daniel Stevens now.
Something we can notice here is we actually have 3 Illusion Motorsport cars on the bottom line here. So we've got Michael Skurlock, and then we've got Dave Douglas, and then we've got Ryan McCarthy. So these guys are definitely working together. And then on the high line, we have Daniel Stevens for Middle Finger Racing, and we also have who's that? Jason Martin for Mitch Motorsport. So we've got 2 drivers on the outside line running by themselves, and then we've got 3 teammates on the inside line trying to work together and get the advantage of Martin and Stevens.
Yes, and just behind Martin we have Danny G, of course. So that's another Mitch Motorsport car in there. So they've got another bullet in their gun. So it looks like Danny G's going to try and get up on the back of Martin and start helping him out, try and push him forwards and get him up there for sure. So those guys are going to work hard. But again, Daniel Stevens has put himself in the same place that Foster had put himself before. making himself in front of the team drivers, so they have to push him along if they want to try and get up in those positions. But this is going to look very good for Illusion here. They are in a fantastic position as it stands, with 3 of their cars in those positions, as Daniel Stevens just gets a nose ahead. He's not quite far enough ahead at the moment. He needs that little bit extra. He needs another couple of tenths of a second to just get in front of the Illusion cars and just chop down in front of them to get back in that sort of lead position.
He just saw Stevens just got up the, just got a little bit, half a car width ahead, coming along that back straight, and then saw the Illusion guys just give a little tap. Dave Douglas just tapped Michael Skurlock up the backside, as we call it, and managed to get Skurlock just ahead.
Yeah, a little bit of bump drafting, you know, always the thing here. You know, it's fine to make contact if you can keep the car handling well. And that's another skill that is just very hard to do, bump drafting. It might look relatively easy, but remember, you're doing over 320 kilometers per hour at some stages. It's not an easy thing to do at all here. So Mitch Motorsport boys are pushing Danny Stevens at the moment. Then behind them we have a sort of a good group of some of the cars that are sort of are a bit more in their sort of full team. So we've got Paul Daniel, we've got Michael Latterer, we've got Tristan Koch and Matt Allison as well. So some new faces up the front of the field there. So good to see. Those guys are having a fantastic job. Tristan Koch making 25 positions as well as Michael Latterer. So some really good driving for them. As Danny Stevens gets that push up ahead that he needs from Jason Martin, is he going to chop down, try and get on that bottom line? We'll soon see. He's got that lead at the moment. He's only had it for a second, though, not long enough. He didn't get down into that lower position.
And we're about to cross the line to have 4 laps remaining. There's about, well, top 10 really, anyone could win it. And yeah, it's really going to come down to the line. Who do you think could potentially take this out?
Well, with the top 10 being half a second away from each other, it's hard to say. At the moment, you've got to say it's looking good for Danny Stevens and Skurlock. I wouldn't discount Martin or Douglas. Those two could possibly pull out of the draft as they cross that finish line and get a good run. We've seen it before here at Daytona. But yeah, it's looking good. So I would probably say Skurlock at the moment. He's probably the best bet, because it does seem like the top line of cars are losing a bit of time through that final corner, and as you get back onto the tri-oval, they seem to be faster on the exit of the tri-oval. But saying that, you know, with the draft as it is, it can just depend on a split second, so hard to say who's going to get it. So a couple more laps to go, some really good, close, fantastic racing here. So as we go, as Daniel Stevens is just getting ahead a little bit. He's got his nose out there a bit, but he's still not quite far enough.
Skurlock is just definitely just taking the lead here. Stevens coming around the outside, and closely followed behind Skurlock is Dave Douglas, and these guys are still definitely working together, doing that old bump draft down the back straight. So Dave Douglas's teammate Skurlock can just get ahead, but then as they come around the final corner, we're seeing Stevens come around the outside and just getting that half a length of car just ahead, as we're seeing Martin actually pushing Daniel Stevens along. So there we go, even these guys are working together, as we're seeing Daniel Stevens. Will he come down to the low line? No, he won't, because Skurlock just comes through here. Crossing the line here with 3 laps to go. We've got Michael Skurlock, Daniel Stevens and Dave Douglas top 3. So anyone can take this out, Carl.
Yeah, it's anybody's race from here. Sorry, we've got a little bit of delay in the broadcast from the from the live action, so we're just getting that. So 2 laps to go now, and it's going to be a very close finish here, I think, as we come round, and it's soon going to be that white flag lap. So We're almost there. It's going to be anyone's position, and it's really close to seeing who's going to start the 500 in front. So we're on that, getting up close. And we are on the final lap now, so 1 lap to go, and this is the white flag for hybrid racing simulations. So here we go, and it's anybody's race from here. It's going to be a close one right here. It looks like Daniel Stevens might be in a good position at the moment. He's sitting well up the top, but the Illusion cars have that bottom line pretty much set out.
I think it might be Michael Skurlock's race to lose, yeah? Depending on the exit that Daniel Stevens can get, but you can see Dave Douglas is definitely pushing Skurlock along.
And Daniel Stevens is going to be very, very friendly towards Jason Martin for that one. As we come across, and Skurlock is going to take it there.
Very good win by Skurlock. Smart race. He started in 20th. Managed to win, so very good race from Michael Skurlock. He stayed clean throughout the race. We saw a few cautions being thrown out, but Michael definitely managed to keep it clean and straight, and yeah, a clean car with on a speedway like this came in handy at the end.
Yeah, it really helped out there. You know, they had a great race. Illusion really played their cards well. Unfortunately, with Chris Purnell getting hit earlier on one of those prior cautions, that really sort of didn't help their effort. But when you've got so many cars in your group, that's where it really helps out. With having so many cars in your team, you've got those extra bullets to use, and Skurlock has used those extra bullets to take the duel, win the duel for the first place position. Great job for him. Also, fantastic job for Daniel Stevens as well. He did a brilliant job tonight, racing for MFR. He didn't really have many of his teammates around him, so he was sort of on his own out there. Fantastic job for him to get into second place. So he's going to be starting next to Skurlock on in the actual Daytona 500 Saturday. So Saturday evening we'll be running that one. But yeah, what a fantastic race there.
Very good. Going to be an interesting night come Saturday night. We just saw a bit of a glimpse of what may happen Saturday come the 500, and it's only 60 laps around here, but yeah, well, a lot of carnage in only 60 laps.
Add an extra 140 to that, and that's the 500 for us, and it's going to be a big one. Of course, there is so much to play in the 500. You've got so many different strategies to run out. You've got so many different options. One thing I did want to look at though was Daniel Stevens. He only made one pit stop in that race, so fantastic job for him. He really worked it out well there. Skurlock made 3 pit stops, and then Dave Douglas made 2 pit stops. So all in the top 3 finishes there, 3 different pit strategies, and it really didn't make a blind bit of difference at the end. But it shows you how Daytona 500 can go, how Daytona can really be. It's a bit of a hard track sometimes, and it can really throw things out.
That really would have been the pit stops under the caution that didn't really, in the end, it didn't really change the result at all. So brilliant racing from these guys. As you said, 3 different strategies from 3 different drivers. So they all raced as hard as they could. All came in with different mindsets, and yeah, that's the podium there.
Yeah, fantastic job there. And you know, it's look, I mean, starting in first place is never a bad thing in a race. But with Daytona, it's a bit of an endurance race, and endurance racing, you know, it's not always where you start; it's where you finish, and that's the important thing. Will Illusion be able to sort of match this win, match this finish with for their 500 and manage to get those positions next race?
Absolutely, mate. And I definitely look forward to the 500.
So what I might do, just as we're getting in here, I just grab down the pole sitter for the 500, and Mr. Michael Skurlock, the winner. So let's just grab him down. Skurlock, Carl Withy here with JP Simshed. How are you going?
Good day, Carl, mate. It's been a while.
It's been a while, hasn't it? It's nice to talk to you again. Nice to see you up here, and congratulations on that. Fantastic job there, getting the win in the duel and getting yourself on the front row for the 500.
Oh, thanks, mate. It's nice to be here. Yeah, I've had pretty bad luck lately in this Daytona week. We seem to have a Daytona race every 5 minutes, and this is the only one I've actually come around and finished. So I'm pretty happy with the result there.
Well, you've still got one more to go, so you've got to finish that one, hopefully in the same place, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm just lucky that Dave was behind me there at the end. I mean, to be honest, like if you're out front, you're doing nothing. It's the guy. It's totally about the two guys pushing in the both rows. They're the ones that win the race. You know, I mean, I was just lucky I was in front.
Yes, and that's something I wanted to actually touch on. Of course, Dave Douglas new to Illusion this season. Not a bad person to get on board for the team, I imagine.
Oh mate, no, he's king pusher. I tell you, him and Chris. Well, we could have a good run in the main race if we could get a whole pack going. You know, Chris pushing one and Dave pushing the other. I think we do pretty well.
It's a bit dangerous for us this season. I mean, there's quite a few of you running this year, and on these super speedways, the more cars you have means the more push you get, and we know how well you guys work together, so it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't enjoy these races that much. It's a bit stressful, man. I'm holding on grim death the whole time. I know some people are comfortable with it. I tend to get a lot of claustrophobia while I'm doing it.
Well, that's one of the things we were talking about up here in the booth was just the closeness of racing. You did a fantastic job coming from 20th place up to first. Really good jump for you there. But obviously teamwork really helped out for you there with Ryan DeCarthy and MacArthur there and Dave Douglas at the end. It looked like you guys sort of worked out to get yourselves in a good position to get yourselves running with that sort of with that bit of a draft pack.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, no plan. Just go to the front. I just got lucky, like I said. Got in front, and Dave was behind me, and he's good at pushing. That's it. The end.
Well, it worked out for you, so that's the main thing. Rob, anything you'd like to ask Mick?
Yeah, Mick, Rob, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good day, buddy.
Now, obviously it was yourself, Dave, and Ryan up the front there, three teammates. You and Dave had different strategies by the looks of it. You pitted three times, Dave pitted twice. Must have come very handy to have your teammate right up your bum come the last few laps.
Oh, mate, it's never been more happy to have a teammate up my bum, mate. To be honest.
That's the way.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Mick. Look, good luck for the 500. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out for tonight?
Yeah, of course. All the Illusion boys. Yeah, we've got a big group now, so we're coming to get everybody.
Well, we're going to look forward to seeing it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you for 500.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks,
See you
Mick.
guys.
All the best.
Scarlock there for the Illusion team. So next up, we'll drop down Danny Stevens. Let's just get him down from our green room. And Daniel Stevens, Carl Withy here for JP Simshed Broadcasting. How are you going?
I'm doing all right, mate. Can't complain about the second place.
No, I imagine you're pretty happy about that one.
Yeah, the chuffed, mate. Just started second, finished second. So, I didn't gain, I didn't lose.
No, it worked out quite well for you. You really had some good luck up there at the front of the pack, and looks like you were really working hard to keep yourself at the tip of the pack there as well. Really working, keeping in front of people as well as latching onto the back of them. Any strategy at the start of this race?
Yeah, well, because I actually qualified better than my teammates, so I had to choose a dancing partner for the race, and I figured that the Mitch boys would be one to deal with, but they were actually on the lower line, so I couldn't dance with them for a while. So I just picking who I could at the time, and just chose the fastest line, and it worked out.
It paid off really well for you, and were you finding the high line worked better tonight, or?
For my setup, yes, it was a high line that worked out very, very well.
Yeah, it looked to us like you guys were losing a little bit through the sort of through turns 3 and 4, but really gaining a lot more through the tri-oval and sort of turns 1 and 2. Is that sort of how it felt for you guys?
Yeah, I've actually been battling the setup in the turns at the moment because we are losing quite a lot of time in the turns, but the straight is like a rocket. But I'm going to do some more work on it for Saturday, see if I can get those turns sorted.
Yeah, well, you've got yourself into a fantastic spot for Saturday, so you've got to be feeling pretty happy about that one.
Oh yeah, mate, it's anybody's game. It's only a starting position, mate. You can start last and come first.
As it is at Daytona, it's a bit of a fickle track sometimes.
Yeah,
Rob, anything you'd like to ask Danny for tonight?
Danny, Rob, how are you, mate?
yeah, good mate, good.
That's the way, mate. Excellent results tonight. Started second, finished second. We saw most of the night you were running the high line, as you said, with your setup. The high line worked better for that. Do you think come Saturday we might run the same line?
Oh, that would be telling, wouldn't it?
Maybe,
Um,
yeah.
no, I'll probably run a bit of both because, like I said, I'll do some more work on the setup for those corners, and then if it's working down the bottom, mate, you'll see me down the bottom as well.
That's the way, mate. Awesome results, and thank you for having a chat with us.
Not a problem, guys. Thank you.
And just before you go, anyone you'd like to give a bit of a shout out for? Mention any sponsors for tonight, Danny?
Yeah, mate, got a bit of a list. MEFR Racing, that's for the top guys that are in the team. WP Concretine, Snap-on Tools Blacktown, Auto Kings, Virtual Car Art, Andrews Crane Hire, Aussie Signs and Designs, Full Drive Auto Parts, Little Techers Boutique, and VRT Vessi Racing.
Well, nice big list there. And I've got to say, just before I let you go, the car looks fantastic, by the way.
Oh, cheers, mate. Thank you. Took me a while to do that one.
Great job. We'll hopefully see you for the 500.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Stephen's there, second place getter. And just before we go, I'm just going to grab Dave Douglas down just for a quick chat, just as he seemed to be up there pretty much through the whole race, entertaining us throughout. Dave Douglas, Carl Withy here with the JP Simshed streaming service. How are you going?
Hey boys, good. What's going on?
Oh, well, we've just seen a fantastic race with some great racing up the front. We'll have to thank you for that one, I suppose.
Yeah, look, it was a good race from the driver's seat too, boys. Nice and clean across the line. A lot of these races you see turns into a wreck basically coming out of 4 because everyone's trying to get everything they can. But we all managed to sort of cross the line and it was nice and clean, which was nice for a change.
Yeah, and look, not a bad start for the new team. Not a bad start being in a new team, getting yourself up onto the second row of the grid for Daytona and pretty much keeping yourself up in that sort of top 5 position all throughout this duel as well.
Yeah, that was the plan. I thought I'm just going to come here and just give it everything and just try and stay up the front and get to the lead if I can. Did that for a few laps and then a bit of a shuffle there. So I saw Skurlock was coming on the high side, so I sort of dropped off the back of those two boys in front just so I could sneak up there. And unfortunately for Edward and Josh Mickamore, they came together, which sort of gave us an opportunity to get down there. And yeah, we just pushed him from there. But yeah, it's a shame that Josh got taken out and Edward because they were both having a great race up there as well with us.
Yeah, it was good to see, but we sort of could see you just dropping back, trying to get yourself slotted into those positions, and it seemed to be working out well for you. So we hope to see more of that for the race on Saturday.
Yeah, no, it was good. So as I said, the Skurlock on that last lap, I was so hot. Like, those boys were having a good run on the top, but I was going to blow it no matter what. I was going to just hold it flat, and she blows, mate.
It'll make the finish more dramatic, a bit of smoke across the line.
That's it. But yeah, today bodes well for Saturday, so we'll go there and we'll see what we can do.
Wonderful. Just Rob, any questions for Dave Douglas tonight?
Yeah, g'day, Dave. Rob, how are you, mate?
Hey, good, mate. Yourself?
Good, mate. Good. Yeah, we saw maybe mid-race you came off the front row there and stepped back. Were you waiting for Michael to come up and you two work together, or were you just getting back into that draft?
Yeah, that's exactly how it went, man. I was afraid that the Mitch cars were going to get a good run around the outside, which they did. And to their credit, obviously, they just worked together up there and they got down. I'm not sure if Dan could get to my bumper. I'm not sure exactly, but they got down in front of us. So I sort of got off the back of them, and I saw Michael was behind Edward, and so I stayed off the back of the two guys at front, just so they didn't get that push from the third car, so the train would start to make progress on the top, which they did. So then I moved up, and yeah, that was it. So I just thought the safest option now is just to stay with the teammate and see where we end up.
Absolutely, mate. Good race by you. Good race Michael and also your teammate Ryan, who finished in 5th. Any shout outs to the sponsors or any thank yous or anything?
Yeah, man. Just shout out to the Illusion Motorsport guys, mate. Pleasure to work with. Always fun to come and do these races or any racing for that matter. And Virtual Motorsport Mentor. Big shout out to Chris and what he's doing there to help out some guys in the sim community. And yeah, also it's good to be back with ANZCAR and you guys, Shim Shed TV, hosting it the broadcast, which is good.
Thank you so much, Dave. We'll hopefully catch you on the Daytona 500. Good luck for that one.
I'll be there rolling off third, boys.
See you there, mate. Dave Douglas there, Illusion Racing. So, yeah, well, what a fantastic race there. And there's still some more to come this week for bits and bobs. Saturday the 15th at 3:20 AEST. There you go. I'll eventually get words out of my mouth. The Panorama Drivers Club with PDC4 Racing will be racing on the 15th. We've also got, of course, the Daytona Cup, which will be on at 7:30 AEST, I think it is. Pretty sure that's the one. And then on Sunday the 16th, we've got the Sunday the 16th at 11 p.m. AEST, we've got the Endurance Championship at Watkins Glen with the ESIA guys. So a few more things coming up this week. Of course, join us for the Daytona 500, where you're going to see more racing like we saw tonight. Hopefully there'll be a few less wrecks. Was pretty good actually for wrecking tonight. Wasn't many we saw out there.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. For the majority of the part, it was very clean, and unfortunately, we saw a few big wrecks, which took out a few of the contenders, Ed Foster and Josh Mickelmore at the front there. So unfortunate for those guys, but I'm sure come the 500, they'll definitely put their foot to the floor and give it a good red crack.
Rush themselves down and get ready for the big race itself. So yeah, getting ready for the 500. So 500 laps at Daytona on Saturday. So we'll start just wrapping everything up for the ANZCAR Abruzzi Cup duel here for Daytona. So I'll have to say thank you so much to JP for JP Simshed, obviously for providing the broadcast this season and also working in the producer's spot as well, doing all the visuals and things like that. Big thank you to Rob. Thank you for joining me tonight. Nice to be calling a race with you.
Absolutely, Carl. Thank you for having me in the broadcasting suite tonight. It's been good fun watching my first oval race and broadcasting it. So thank you to you. Thank you for to JP and broadcasting for putting on a show, and once again iLiveries for the overlays, and also Matt for helping out with ATVO. It's come a big hand, and I'm sure it definitely paid off in the broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Matt Hunter put in a lot of effort last season as we were running on our former broadcast, and always a lot of effort to get those up, and he's done a fantastic job. So we'll say good night for now, and we will see you all Saturday for the 500 itself. Good night.
There you go.